Hey, welcome to the Relentless Positivity Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Martin. And my guest today is Jonathan Green. He has created a life most people only dream about. He lost his job, which most people don't dream about that part. But what he did afterwards, he became his own boss, and now he's helping thousands of people around the world. He's moved his family to a remote island in the South Pacific, and he's done that. He's an expert in online tools and AI. He's going to go share his journey today and some of the ways he can help you make some money online as well. So Jonathan, thanks for being here, man.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Oh yeah. So we'll just get into kind of get people to know you a little bit, and then we'll get into some more of these tools we talk about. So, what's something not many people know about you?
Um, I've told so many stories, I've written so many books. I think everything's out there, but like I just told you up for the call, and maybe this is one. I was on the high school debate team and traveled around the whole country doing that, and that's how I became like really interested in language and linguistics, and it's why I talk fast. So you get 8 minutes to make each talk. The more things you can say in 8 minutes, the more effective your team is. So if I can say 50 arguments and you can only answer 49 in 8 minutes, then I just win based on time. So that's why I used to be a really slow talker, and now I have this fast talking habit that I can't seem to break. That's why I talk too fast. Not because I'm nervous. It's just a habit I spent years developing and I can't undo it, even 30 years later.
Man, that's being from the South. That's a skill you had to work on. I'm sure we don't talk too fast down here, so that was a skill you had to come. So you just overwhelm them with your arguments, I guess, on that. So, what's your guilty pleasure?
Oh, probably food. You know, I'm not a man of many vices anymore. I have a lot of kids, so you just don't have time to do anything anymore. You give up the smoking, you give up the drinking, you give up the hard partying, you do less and less things. Like, so these days, that's the only thing I struggle with, I would say.
Yeah, and food's pretty awesome, man. I'm a food guy myself, so this may be a tough one. You've done a lot. What's been your greatest achievement so far?
Um, so I think, and there's been different highlights. When I was in my mid-20s, I saved someone from drowning, and then she went on, get married, and had two kids last time I checked. So I think that's the most significant thing I've ever done. Although after then I went on and I've gotten married and had my own kids, but I think that's the biggest small moment because it was just a 1 minute moment, but it's the biggest one, I think.
Wow. Yeah, that's not small to her, I'm sure. Man, that's amazing that yeah, three people here because of you. That's pretty cool. Leave your mark on the world for sure. So, all right, man, if you're a superhero, first of all, what's your superpower? And then what's your kryptonite?
Oh, probably flying. And then I think my kryptonite's bullets, like pretty, pretty not bulletproof right now. So I think that's it. Also, knives work pretty good on me. So those are my two main weaknesses.
To all those kids, man, they wear you down so much you can't even withstand bullets anymore. That's how it works. I'm with you, man. So let's tell me a crazy story about your family.
About my family. Let me think. Yeah. So when I was living in Japan, my older sister came to visit me. And it's the only time I've ever seen her like drinking. And she was drinking with me at a karaoke bar. And then I was telling her, I'm thinking of taking the LSAT. I'm thinking to go to law school. And she takes me outside and goes, don't do it. And I was like, what? And she goes, whatever you do, don't take that test. Don't go to law school. It's the worst decision you can ever make. And I was like, you're a lawyer, your husband's a lawyer, my dad's a lawyer. And she was like, I don't care. And it's the only time she's ever given me advice in my whole life. I was like, you've been saving this up for 27 years. So I took her advice and I'm glad I did.
Oh, there you go. Is that an older sister or younger sister?
Older.
Ah, there you go, man. They always just know a little bit more. I don't know what the deal is, man. My brother was like that too. So, what's something that makes you mad? You seem pretty chill, but what's something that makes you mad?
I don't, yeah, I get frustrated, but I mean, there's a lot of things that make me mad around the house and stuff, but work wise, I don't like, um, oh, here's one. I sometimes will get a really angry customer support request from someone who's really mad about a product that's not mine that they bought from someone else. I've had like I get one of those a month where someone was really mad at me recently and they messaged me on email, then LinkedIn, on Facebook. They're hitting me on every angle, then they're hitting the support email address. And I was like, listen, they're like, why aren't you responding? I was like, because it's not my website. That's not me. You bought that from someone else. You have a problem with someone else. I had a customer go really hard. And last year's customer went really hard in the paint on me and sent in a bunch of screenshots. I was like, yeah, that's not my website. I can see you're logged into another website that you bought from. And he goes, I didn't buy from them. I'm like, I can see in the corner that your status is not free account. I know that tool. I know that you pay for it. You're upset about something that's not from me, that's from them, but you're asking for a refund on a product that it's not that product you're showing me. All your screenshots are from someone else's product. So I think of all the things that happens, that's the one that drives me the craziest now. In the past, it was probably 80% of my customer support requests from people who misspelled their own email address. So they weren't getting any of their emails. It's really common. It's a lot more common than you think. It used to happen all the time. It seems to have slowed down recently. I think just I changed shopping carts or something got better, but it was a big problem. So that didn't really make me mad. It was always like really hard because I couldn't email the person because they had the wrong email address until they sent me a different email. So those are some of the kinds of things that get a little bit frustrating. Or when people like say something, they don't like something, but they didn't try. They go, "Oh, your course is terrible." I'm like, but you didn't watch any of the videos. You've never logged into the membership area. So those anything in that category is kind of what is probably the thing that makes me the like most emotional reaction. That's when I have to really that's why I don't respond to customer support stuff in the moment, because it's usually something like if it's my fault, no problem. Right. If the course doesn't work and you tried and you send in pictures, you go, I really tried, this didn't work for me, that didn't work for me. I've gotten sometimes I like, but the opposite is I really like when people self-solve. I had someone sent in a complaint about a tool that I taught him how to use, and the tool is just down worldwide. It's just like when Facebook goes down for a day, and they realized it, solved it, closed it, turned off comments before anyone could reply. They go, "Oh, I figured out it was system wide." I love that when people self-solve, when they realize that it's like not my fault, that there's a system, it's a system thing that's not my software. So it's just something, these things happen. So I love that. So it's the other end of the spectrum.
Oh yeah. Well, you seem like a self-solver yourself, so I bet you would appreciate that when someone else doesn't.
I There's a thing that happens whenever I send in like a messed up customer support request. I sent in a support request last week. I bought a new lapel microphone, and it's one of those ones you clip to your shirt, and then you can also plug in an external lapel microphone to it. And I was like, it doesn't work when I flip the switch. And I sent in this whole support request and a bunch of pictures, and I go, I'm not supposed to flip that switch, am I? I knew when I thought about it objectively, I was like, I know what that button means. It's my own mistake. And as I was talking to them, I figured it out. So yeah, I mean that always happens though when you send in the angry customer support thing, you solve it or it gets solved right away. Like, hey, you never sent me that email, and then it arrives like 4 seconds later, or you lost it. So it's pretty common that those things happen. So even when I'm on the like other end of it, it's the same thing. Like it always ends up getting solved right when you're complaining about it.
That's it. You go to the doctor's office, immediately start feeling better. It's always the case, man. So,
Yeah.
could you please share the story about how you got fired in a blizzard and how to put you on the path you're on right now? Which sounds like a bad way to get things going, but man, let's put you on the path you're
Yeah.
on.
So 29, I thought I had my dream job. I worked really hard to get this job, a whole bunch of stuff. Like it's not, I cold called the place and said, "Hey, do you guys have an opening for someone like me?" Yada yada. They go, "Actually, we have a position that we listed and no one fit. So it's not open right now, but you'd be perfect." I came in, they hired me. That was my dream job. And I mean, I hated it. There were so many things I hated about that job that when you work at the larger an organization is, the more inefficiencies there are. So this is why the biggest inefficiency is the federal government. The second biggest is probably the military because there's just so many people. You just have to make work for everyone. And then after that, it's universities. So I was working in a university, and universities now will have like one teacher for every 10 students, but then they have like 4 people in the back end per student. They have so many people working in offices that aren't customer facing that you have to pay all those salaries. That's why tuition's just skyrocketing. So dealing with all those people and trying to figure it out. So they have people at large organizations like that, I discovered, have this ability to slow roll. So they would give me a task like this will take you like 6 months. And it took me like 2 hours, and I started crying. I go, I don't know how to do this job because I don't know how to pretend to work at this pace. So there was a lot of passive aggressiveness there. So it wasn't the right job. I thought it was my dream job. And then I was like, I can't believe this is my dream. It's like that thing, careful what you wish for. So I was in charge of a department, multi-million dollar budget, in charge of 6 teachers. Peak. There's no higher position in that career. So I peaked in my career. The only higher position would be when my boss died and I took her job. So, and I remember when they said, "Oh, most people once they start working here, they never leave." And I got really depressed when she said that. It sounded like I think she thought she was saying a good thing to me, but it sounded to me like a threat. But I took that job. I said, okay, let me look at my student loan. If I work here for this long, I can pay off that student loan and then I can quit. I thought I was already thinking that. Like I planned out, I guess here 18 months, all this stuff. And then I signed a lease on a new apartment, bought a new car over the weekend. And then Monday I came in and they were like, this is not working out. And um it was a blizzard, right? I drove in on the blizzard. I'm like, look, I'm such a good student and I'm such a good employee, not student. And I was like, driving back, I was like, don't crash. It would be just don't make it worse. It would be so ironic if you crash now. Just don't do it. And um, we sometimes there's this thing that happens where usually some of the worst moments in our life become the most important, the most pivotal. And like they didn't fire me, they freed me. I hated the job. I just couldn't admit it. I didn't belong in that environment. If I was still working there, I'd be making 2% more than that job now. And I made that year, last week, I made more than that my salary per year was at that job. So just thinking about those numbers, like I can't even imagine surviving on what that salary was. So there's no way I could go back. But golly, I at the time was really stressed out. I said, you know what? I'm not going back to teaching. I never want to be in a position where someone else has that much power over me. I'm just not interested in that. I don't like that. I don't like the games. I don't like the politics. So I could have gone back. I hadn't worked there long enough that it would have even affected my resume because I've only been working there for a couple weeks. I had other job openings and I was like, there's no way I'm going to work anywhere else. I just don't want to ever do this again. I'm tired of teaching. I'm tired of this career. I'm moving in another direction.
Wow. Yeah, I like how you say they didn't fire you, they freed you. That's a great way of looking at it because I think people, there are a lot of people they stay in those dead end jobs that they don't like. They're not going anywhere. They're afraid to change. I mean, you're not afraid, obviously. And then so you've kind of gotten into some of these online tools and AI is kind of a big thing going on right now. It seems like a very polarizing deal, but what's something that people misunderstand about AI?
Yeah, it's not AI. I think that's the biggest misunderstanding is that when it's a good branding name, but it's not actually artificial intelligence. So they're trying to do this thing now where they go, oh no, real AI is now called AGI. And there's basically AI really is just a good guesser. So if you download the entire internet and use that as a database and say, here's the question, what's the most likely correct answer? That's what it's doing. And it's generating it one word at a time just based on likelihood and percentages. So once you understand that, you realize it's just a really smart magic 8 ball. It's not as scary anymore. So sometimes I hear people talking about all of those things. You start talking about Terminator and robots and things like that. I go, yeah, those are a different thing. Now, people are working on those types of systems, and I don't think that's a great idea. They are trying to work on super intelligence. It's just this is because this is misbranded, people are looking at the wrong thing. They're so worried about AI when AGI is what they're actually thinking of. And so they're just doing all these name switches. I think that's the biggest misunderstanding. The second biggest misunderstanding is people who think it's a fad. Most people who think it's a fad will be ejected from the workforce within, I'm going to say 3 years. And what will happen is they'll go from they're ignoring it to they go, listen, we're replacing you with someone who knows how to use AI, who does more work than you for less money. And then you start looking at jobs, and every single job application will say, every listing will say 3 to 5 years of AI experience required. So even if you go and reskill yourself, you won't be able to capture that missing experience. So you'll be excluded. Like it's going to be really brutal, but it's not like no one told you. Like plenty of people are ringing the bell. It's an active decision to ignore this thing. And that's what a lot of people are making that decision. I've seen people even say stuff like, oh, this is just a fad. It's going to go away. I was like, if your boss sees that post, you're going to get fired because I would fire you immediately if you worked for me. So I think that's the second biggest mistake people are making. They're just not paying attention. They don't take it seriously. It's kind of like the people that said the internet was like going to go away after a while, or watches weren't really going to last, or cell phones weren't going to last. Like, you're wrong.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are just scared of it because it has been misbranded, like you said. That's an interesting way to look at it. I didn't know there's a difference between the two. So that's got to watch out for the robot guys. That's the ones we got to watch out for. I've even been, I do use Chat GPT. I even say please and thank you just in case, man. When the robots take over, they'll remember me as a nice person. So, let's say someone they're like, oh man, I better start getting on this. What's the first step to getting involved in AI and kind of getting that experience under their belt right now?
So the first step is to pick a tool. You can use Microsoft's tool, OpenAI's tool, Anthropic's tool. There's a bunch of text ones. You just want to use a text generator. They're called an LLM, which means large language model. So ChatGPT is one of those. There's a bunch. They're all within like 1% of each other as far as how good they work. There's all slightly different. So whichever one you feel good about. I'm a ChatGPT guy because that's just how I started. And you just sit down and say, I'm going to spend 8 hours learning how to do this. I'm going to watch YouTube videos, or they can read my book. Both work. You just watch some tutorials, you copy and paste some prompts, and you will discover that the learning curve is not that steep. It's really just sit down and do it. It's not like learning Photoshop or video editing. It doesn't take weeks or months. It just takes one day to be a pretty good user.
So for the average person out here that they've never gone on there, they don't understand how the prompts work and all that thing. They get a little bit of training. How could they use it? Let's say they're not using it at work. How could they use it just in regular everyday life?
So the best use cases are to take tasks you already do all the time and do them faster. The mistake a lot of people make is trying to do new things, going, oh, now that I have an AI tool, I can do this, which I've never done before. Problem is, you don't know if you're doing a good job or a bad job. I can use an AI to translate my book into French, but if I can't read French, I don't know if it's done a good job or not. I can't error correct. So when I always work with people, I say the first thing you should do is sit down and look at what do you do for at least 1 hour a day that doesn't require 100% of your attention. So it's the kind of task you can do when you're listening to music with words or you have the television on. So it doesn't require all your focus. So it might be answering emails, might be editing, organizing stuff. That's really the first task I would try to speed up or replace with AI. That's the place I would start. That's really what I recommend for most people. The specific thing, the number of things AI can do is so broad. That's why a lot of people get overwhelmed because it can make recipes or plan trips, and those things are pretty silly. It's not really such a big deal. We already know how to plan a trip, right? There's already tools that can do that. There's already search engines. So I really look for other things where it helps me, like organizing emails so I can check my email faster, or organizing files. Like those are the things. Right before this call, I was working on a book for a ghostwriting client, and it's a series of 50 vignettes, like 50 lessons, which each has a short story in it. And I said to the client, how did you choose the order of these chapters? And he said, random. And I was like, well, let's reorganize those. For me to reorganize it would have taken like 2 hours because it was a lot of thinking and planning. And I just kind of knew the right way to ask ChatGPT to organize it. And then I took follow that organization and then move some things around to get a really good result that's a lot cleaner. And then I can send back to the client and say, hey, what do you think about this organization? Does this work for you? Right. Because then he'll say, oh, let's change this or change that. So that's a really simple thing that it helps me with. Another example is sometimes you have a list and it has numbers at the start of the list, like 1 through 50, and you need the list without the numbers. That's one I do all the time. Like, hey, give me this list back with no numbers on it. Like, it seems silly, but otherwise you do it by hand. It would take a bunch of time. Or if I have first and last names, like split these into two things, things like that. So it can help you with big things and small things, writing custom code or really simple tasks. So for each person, it's going to be different. And it starts with, okay, where am I going to get the biggest result from learning this? Because you have to learn how to do a new process, a new way of doing things. So start with the thing that takes the most time rather than the thing that's the most exciting or the coolest, because that's what will really affect your day. If you can get back 1 hour a day, that's 5 hours a week. That's an entire work week, right? Every couple of weeks. So you're getting back 10 hours after 2 weeks, you're getting back 20 hours a month. That's a lot of time. Every 2 months, you're getting back an entire work week. Can you imagine getting an extra 6 weeks vacation every year? That'd be pretty nice.
Wow. Because everyone you talk to right now says what? I'm busy. Like those, how you doing? Hey, I'm busy. Man, if you get an extra 1 hour per day, man, imagine what you could do. Hey, I'm a fitness guy, right? All you people that tell me you don't have time to work out, there you go. Get your Chat GPT on there. Let it help you get that extra hour, and then you come work out with me. Speaking of working with, man, you got to go to his website. I mean, if you talk about resources and value and things that can help you, all these things are on there. it's a little overwhelming. I'm not going to lie. If you don't know what you're looking for, you just go to the website. What would you recommend people start when they go to your website?
Yeah, so the best thing is to go to the AI page to kind of see a lot of stuff. I mean, really now these days, I'm much more active on LinkedIn. I post new content there more than anything else. The internet's changing and LinkedIn has just become so much more useful for my business than my website. So I post new content to LinkedIn at least once a day, whereas my website I update every couple of weeks. I've really transitioned because of just the way things are changing. So that's the place for the most up-to-date information. If you have my LinkedIn profile, you can check out, you can get a copy of my book, you can get a free copy of my book. I have a bunch of stuff on there. I just wrote a really good new training today about how to use AI to create like a really awesome LinkedIn profile picture for free. So you don't have to use any of those silly paid tools that cost like 75 bucks to do your AI profile pictures. It looks bad. I was like, you don't need to spend any money. Do it for free. Here's the right way to do it with a really good tool.
Man,
That's what I was writing on today.
that's awesome. Yeah, I'll link that. I'll link your website as well as your LinkedIn profile. People can go right there. So let me ask you this one last question. So, what do you kind of see? What is the future for these Chat GPTs and those type of things? What do you see coming out in the future?
So I think there's going to be a pendulum swing. So right now it's all everyone, there's people that are just chasing the hype and they're just talking about everything exciting. This is coming. This is coming. They're the people that like stand in line for the new iPhone every year. They just love to talk about the future. And what will happen is that the kind of hype bubble will burst and people will shift towards what's useful. I try to teach about that. I say, listen, there's a lot of things that aren't useful. Like everyone talks about AI video, and I say, well, how much video did you make last year? None. Then why do you care about video now? It's not you're not in the video business. So it's people that get excited but don't take action or go in the wrong direction. I think that the future is going to be in more practicality. Right now, everyone is really focused on using AI to generate content or to push things out. I think that's the worst use case. The best use case is using it for content in. We get too much information, too much sorting. I remember like when TiVo came out, and TiVo was this amazing tool that would record television shows for you, and then you could watch the shows without commercials. Watching television without commercials saves you an insane amount of time. So if you're watching live television, you're making a huge mistake. The average television show for every 30-minute show, I think it's 8 minutes of commercials now. It's gone up since I was a kid. It used to be 3 minutes and four. Now it's 8 minutes. So if you watch an hour of television, 16 minutes or 25% of your time is spent watching commercials. If you watch 4 hours of television a night, 1 hour of that, it's watching an entire hour of commercials. So I very rarely, I don't ever directly encounter a commercial. I don't watch television like that anymore. But sometimes people will be talking about an ad campaign or commercial. I'm like, I've never seen it. I don't watch commercials. It's a waste of time. And that's exactly where the big value is, right? What's controlling, just like an ad blocker is very useful. So controlling which emails get to your inbox, very valuable. Controlling which news stories get to your inbox, very valuable. So I have to keep up with AI news. I use an AI to sort that. It saves me a huge amount of time. It would be impossible without that tool. So that's where I think the most useful case is. And I think that's where the future really is once people get over some of the hype. I think it's really information organization, information management. So I would rather have the AI tell me which emails to answer rather than answer the emails for me. So I think that's the right move for the future, and I think that's where it's going to work too. And I also think the value of face-to-face communications are going to go way up. I just got approached by a really big company asking about like AI dating stuff, and I was like, yeah, people are just going to switch to meeting in person because they don't want to talk to someone's chatbot. Like no one wants that experience. Like, oh, I didn't talk to you. I should have my bot talk to you. It's like that's exactly why face-to-face meetings, business meetings, that's the one way to know you're talking to a person.
Yeah, you're starting to see it right now. If you play around with Chat GPT and some of those, you'll start seeing some content that you can kind of see the flavor of AI in it, and you can kind of tell it's not some of it. They don't even change it, so it's not very authentic, and they're just pumping out content. People are going to start ignoring that. So I think you're exactly right that we're going to get back to everything comes back around, right? So we have all these tech tools, but face to face is going to be the future right there. So that's a pretty cool way to look at all those things because the more I play around, you can kind of recognize when people are just using AI and not putting their own spin on things and just kind of clogging the market if you think about it, man. So this is super eye opening. I'm a rookie in this stuff right now, and I find it very fascinating. It's helped my business as well. I've used it like you talked about, organize some things and organize some chapters for a book I'm writing. Uh, thanks for these resources. I'm gonna go to your LinkedIn page after we get off here and go through that training. I need a new profile. I'm not gonna lie. So, and you've got some amazing resources on your website, so I can't imagine checking out all the updated stuff on LinkedIn. So, John, thanks so much for coming on here, man. I really appreciate all the info.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Do you have any parting words for the audience right now?
The one thing I'll say is that the best time to start using AI is a year ago. The second best time is today. So just set aside a little time. It's not as hard as you think. It's not complicated. It's not like learning programming. It's just chatting. And when you switch to that mindset, it's a lot easier and you can start to get results the very first day, which is nice.
Wow. Hey, we live in a microwave society, so we want results right now. And you can get them right now. You just gotta be willing to try something new. And Jonathan's always willing to do that. Man got fired in a blizzard, and now he's helping people start with ChatGPT and all these different things, write books for people. So if you need his services, if you're saying, hey, this all sounds well and good, you can hire him to help you out. You can hire him for your company. You can go to him, go to his LinkedIn, his website, get in contact with him, figure out how he can help you out, automate this stuff for you. Maybe you don't feel like doing that. That's what he can help you with. So I'll link those in show notes. And thanks again for coming on here and sharing this information with, and continue best luck in the AI world, man. I appreciate all the information.
Thank you for having me. Bye, everybody.
Hey, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Please share this episode. Somebody needs to hear that AI is not scary. That can help you out. It can make your life better. It can give you an extra hour to come exercise with me. You need all these things. So please share this episode. And we'll see you guys next week on the Relentless Positivity Podcast. Wow, what a great episode. You just share that with somebody. I'm going to share with you some awesome sponsors. McWilliams Marketing. They can help your business grow. Regardless of the size of the project, you're going to get a solution that is specifically created for you and your business. No cookie cutter, one size fits approach here. So Amy and her band of fearless marketers can help you with all that stuff that you think you can do, but you're not really that good at it. You don't have time for it. They can do that. They're the experts. It's what they do. Web design, online conversion optimization, SEO, graphic design, marketing, page management, all that stuff. Go let them do that. Don't handle that yourself. Go check them out at McWilliamsMarketing.com. See what all they can do. They're amazing people. Teak Patnick with Patnick Realty. He really does it all in the real estate world. General real estate sales, acquisitions, property management, investments, all that good stuff. You're not just a transaction with Teak. He really wants to build a relationship for life with you. He has built his whole business on prayer, hard work ethic, honesty, and results. You can trust Patnick Realty with all your real estate needs. Hey, I trust my brother from another mother, Teak, and you should too. Give him a call, 256-694-0117, or email him at teak@patnickco.com. Hey, these are awesome businesses. Go support them. They're out supporting positivity, and they will do you right. Have an awesome day.